This is my Xbox 360 controller, and recently my dog, as you can see, has chewed up on it. All the buttons still work alright. Bumpers feel okay, triggers are good. Joysticks, although they work, they feel terrible. And then the worst part is the back side. You can see these teeth marks here have made the plastic very uncomfortable. So we're gonna fix this. The catch is I've never actually attempted this before. So normally if your controller is busted, you have one option. You can go buy a new one, which I was surprised to find that a new Xbox 360 controller in 2018 is still 30 bucks. And if I bought it used, I could maybe do $15 to $10. However, I found a different solution that I'm gonna try. I bought this from Wal-Mart.com. It is a new Xbox 360 controller shell. It cost 8 bucks, and it came with the 2 screws that I'll need to undo the security screws here. If you buy it without the screws, it'll actually cost about 6 bucks. So assuming this works, it's actually going to be a pretty good deal. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Oh, this is helpful. Okay. It's good to know. You can see maybe there's a tiny screw hole right there on the battery, which is hidden on a normal controller with the sticker there. So I will have to remove that sticker. So on the back here, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a 7th screw hidden in the battery pack that we need to undo. Nice. It's a magnetic screwdriver. One thing I recommend is getting a sheet of paper to hold your screws with some tape. The reason why I do that instead of putting it in a cup or a tray is if it falls off the table, I don't want the screws to go flying everywhere. So that's a little easier for me. Alright, so we have all the screws out now. So I'm going to secure my screws to the sheet of paper. What's also nice about this is that you can get a pen and you can actually just write exactly where each screw goes. But for now, I know that these go just on the outside of the Xbox. Shouldn't be too difficult to remember. So let's see how to take this apart now. Whoa. Alright, so lesson learned. Open upside down so that all the buttons don't immediately fall out. Also, there's some really gross junk in my controller. You will notice that the Xbox button, the home button, doesn't have the Xbox branding, so I'm actually going to repurpose the original one since it doesn't look like my dog affected it all that much. So that's good. So on the left here are the new buttons, and on the right are the original buttons. They look pretty similar, almost identical. I think that the lettering inside the new buttons has a little bit more contrast, a little bit more noticeable white to it. Contrast may not be the right word, but it looks like on the original, they're a little bit more legible, a little less foggy. But that shouldn't be a huge deal. We're gonna go ahead and put these aside, and we're gonna start assembling our new controller here. Here are our new joysticks. Again, give a bit of comparison. Let me see if I can't find an old one. Here's the old joystick. You can see some of the teeth marks there. Here's the new one. Exact same dot, same dimensions, so I'm happy with the joysticks. We're also going to take, again, the old Xbox button and repurpose that so that I still have the branding. I also will need this piece, apparently. They all have, just like the A, B, X, Y buttons, there are little grooves here on this side. I don't know if you can see that. On the side of the Xbox button, and little grooves cut into the side of the housing for the Xbox button. And it's designed so that you can't put it in the wrong way. Hopefully when I flip that over, the X will be in its proper spot. So I'm going to go ahead and set the new joysticks onto the old circuit board here. Make sure these are still working all right. I should just be able to pop them on. Okay, so they're a little bit square on the edges. So just like with the buttons, there are specific grooves here to line up. And you'll feel it kind of ease on in there. Okay, so something I just noticed is that this actually comes with 7 screws, this set. So let's see if I can't actually show you. The advantage to using these new screws is that they are Phillips screws, so if I have to repair this controller again, it'll be a little easier to get into. So that whole step with taping down the screws isn't entirely necessary. So next we're going to try and take the old board and set it inside the new shell. So it looks like it's sort of locked in by the triggers here. So you got to squeeze the triggers, pull it on out. Hopefully I don't snap this in half right here. There we go. So it's important to note to take off the front part of the controller that houses like where the microphone would normally go. That seems to be the last bit that holds it in. There we go. Yeah, look how gross that is. I should probably clean this. This could be tricky. I want to replace the triggers and go ahead and put new springs in them if I can. Now the kit does come with a brand new housing for the triggers that are actually black instead of white, which is kind of cool. But I don't know if I need to do all that. I'm hoping I don't. I really just want to replace the triggers themselves and not all this plastic on the insides. I don't really want to mess with any of the internals, mostly just cosmetic stuff that I'm trying to fix. Okay, here we go. So there's this white lever here that looks like I can maybe pry off and unhook the trigger that way. That gave me a little bit of progress. Alright, for now I'm going to give up on putting new triggers. We are just going to set this in the housing. I can see that the screw holes line up, so that's good. Just need to make sure that the motors rest in the right spot here. To be honest, I'm not positive how to secure these. This is the back piece that needs to line up with the sync button. I've discovered a very important piece, which is right here. This little guy is your sync button. You have to make sure that you put that in. So there's a little crosshair inside there, and there's a little hole here to thread it through. You may need to use a screwdriver to rest that down in there. There you go, and there you now have a little sync button. That was helpful. Make sure that you actually put left and right bumper on the left and right side. It looks like it fits in here actually. We might be ready to try and put the top shell on. So, let's go back to this one here. I'm trying to assemble the rest of it. So the D-pad comes in two parts. The actual D-pad and its rocker. You can see it has two holes there, which will line up with the two holes on the D-pad. So you have to sandwich it between the Xbox. Alright, so you have a little tab here, a little tab on the piece of silicone for the D-pad. Go ahead and line that up. Then you have to put on the silicone for your remaining buttons, which it doesn't look like there's a loop to hook it onto. I think you just rest it on there. We're ready to attempt to put this back together. So here we go. Well, I can tell you this is going to be difficult. So when you put the bumper in there, make sure that it lines up with the button here, and we'll actually click it. I don't know the trick for making this transition, so it's going to be a lot of trial and error. There's error number 2. The B button just fell out. I'm sure there's some ingenious way to do this, and I'm making myself look like an idiot right now. But it's all part of learning. Let's try it. Oh my goodness. The real lesson here is to put your controllers away and not let your dogs chew on them. Oh my gosh. This is devolving very quickly. Trying to make sure that this is all lined up is also pretty difficult. Ben Heck, I am not. Alright, so let's try and hold this piece. Nope, holding it just pops it right out. I'm about to have to use super glue. Oh, you know what? Okay, I have a different idea. I've been doing this wrong. You see these little towers here? They thread through these holes. Hopefully that will hold a little better. Alright, we're getting somewhere. Oh boy. I messed up. All the buttons have to be threaded back. We were so close. Okay. I have a game plan. First, check all the silicone pads. Make sure all my buttons are there. Then we are going to try and set the rumble packs down in here first. I say rumble packs just because I think of the 64. Make sure we put them the correct direction. Alright, so with any luck, I won't pinch the cables here, but setting these in first also seemed to be helpful. Home stretch. Just gotta line things up best that I can and not knock out this darn bumper. We are making some progress. So obviously bits of it that are having trouble lining up. I'm tempted to try and put a screw in. I'm gonna set a screw right inside it. I dropped it. It's the Phillips magnetic. There we go. All right. So with the screwdriver from the set, and these are the new Phillips screws. So when I have to repair this, it'll be a little easier to get into. Not that it was difficult the first time, but now I don't have to fumble with the sticker either. I just need this bumper to line up. And there it is. I can still tighten the screws a little further, but I'm afraid I'm stripping them right now. But you can see it is a much improved controller. All the buttons feel great. I'm going to now put in batteries and see if everything still works. So keep in mind, this is my first time doing this. It is a total novice repair. I obviously had some trouble. I'm sure I made some dumb mistakes, but I feel like it's worth it. It's worth trying. It's a lot better than spending $30. $8 is a fair price for this, I think. $6 if you already own the screwdrivers. So let's put in batteries and let's see if it works. Okay, so I have fully reassembled it. The reassembly is probably the most difficult part. Getting the edge of the controller totally flush is difficult. You can see some gaps in there. That looks okay. This is the roughest part right there. You can kind of force it back together sometimes, but it doesn't quite fit as tight as I would like. Also, the buttons, you can see there's some wiggle there. I don't know if you can pick that up, but there is a little bit of clicking noise. But for $8, I am really happy with the final result. I think if I just really clamp down on it, I can make these fit a little tighter. I want to test now. There we go. Make sure it's still working. I want to test now each individual button, which I've yet to do. Close tray. Joystick works. Trigger works. Rumble's working. I don't know if you can hear that. We're punching. Jumping. We need a weapon to switch to test that. Other joystick works. Grenades work. Weapons switch weapons. So Y button's working. I don't even know what X does. X picks up stuff. The responsiveness of that seems... So that's really clicky. We can zoom. And you can T-back. Alright. Everything seems to be working. I just wish it was a little more flush there. But for $8, it's hard to go wrong.